Good morning. Welcome back to Passion World Talk Radio Network, a wholly owned subsidiary of Global Media Network LLC. Educate, enlighten, entertain, and let's not forget mindfulness. On today's special report, we are going to talk about a bill that in of itself is not disturbing. But when you think about the amendment that has been attached to the bill, it may start giving you the itches in that one spot yet you always have trouble getting to and scratching. But I'm putting the cart before the horse. We're going to start and tell you what the First Amendment is to the United States Constitution. And although you may know it, our current administration may not. And because of that, I would like to share with them, I got it from their government page on the Constitution that gives a definition of what the First Amendment is all about. The First Amendment guarantees freedoms concerning religion, expression, assembly, and the right to petition. Make sure you take that down in red and star it and bold it and underline it. It forbids Congress from both promoting one religion over others and also restricting an individual's religious practices. It guarantees freedom of expression by prohibiting Congress from restricting the press or the rights of individuals to speak freely. It also guarantees the right of citizens to assemble peacefully and to petition their government. And the number one question is this bill. How is this bill going to affect our First Amendment right of free speech? But before we go forward, we need to go backwards and establish some rules as to why this particular bill is so controversial. Plus, with this particular amendment added to it by the conservative Christians who state that Jesus Christ was killed by the Jews. Its name is Antisemitism Awareness Act of 2023. And you're wondering, never heard of it. Well, you're hearing about it now. What is the act about? This law is meant to help fight anti-Semitism by making sure that existing anti-discrimination laws apply to Jewish individuals, especially in schools and other federally funded programs. What's the name of this law? It's officially called the Antisemitism Awareness Act of 2023. Now, Congress has already passed it. And it's not an official law just yet. What does Congress believe? Our Congress wants to make sure that discrimination is illegal. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 already bans discrimination based on race, color, and national origin in places that get federal funding. And they believe that religion shouldn't be a loophole, even though the law specifically cover religious discrimination. People who are targeted because of their Jewish identity, whether for their ancestry or ethnicity, should still be protected. Anti-Semitism counts as discrimination. If someone is discriminated against for being Jewish, and that discrimination is based on race, color, or national origin, it should be treated as a violation of the law. The U.S. will enforce this law. The government promises to take anti-Semitism seriously and enforce anti-discrimination laws just as strongly as it does for other forms of discrimination. Fighting anti-Semitism is a priority. The White House has outlined a national strategy to 1, raise awareness about anti-Semitism and its dangers, 2, make Jewish communities safer, 3, push back against anti-Semitic attitudes and discrimination, and 4, encourage better communication and cooperation between different communities. So what has Congress really have found? While Congress recognizes that anti-Semitism is increasing, Jewish students in schools and universities are facing more discrimination. A clear definition always helps. The International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, or the IHRA, has created a definition of anti-Semitism that helps people recognize and understand different forms of anti-Semitism. Legal protections exist. In 2019, Executive Order 13899 ensured that anti-Semitism on college campuses would be treated as discrimination under the Civil Rights Act of 1964. The Department of Education uses this definition. Since 2018, the Department of Education has relied on the IHRA definition when investigating discrimination cases. Conflicting definitions causes problems. Using multiple definitions of anti-Semitism makes it harder to enforce laws and recognize modern forms of anti-Semitism. The U.S. has a national strategy. In 2023, the White House launched a plan to fight anti-Semitism, making it a priority for the government and society. And you're asking yourself, what does anti-Semitism mean? For this law, anti-Semitism is defined as the official IHRA definition, which the U.S. adopted in 2016. The examples of anti-Semitism in the IHRA definition. How will this law be used? When the Department of Education investigates discrimination cases under the Civil Rights Act, it will use the IHRA definition to determine if anti-Semitism was involved. What the law does not do: give more power to the Secretary of Education, change the rules for deciding if harassment is illegal discrimination, take away rights protected by other laws, and limit free speech. The law does not override the First Amendment, which protects freedom of speech and religion. Or does it? And that's why there's such a controversy about this bill with this law and the amendment that was attached. Jesus Christ was killed by the Jews. Critics fear that, 1, the IHRA is being used as a weapon. So, who's at risk? Some of the questions that should be asked: could student activists, journalists, and protesters face legal consequences for criticizing Israeli policy? How this bill parallels past authoritarian tactics limiting speech under the guise of security and protection, and what history has taught us. When speech is restricted, power is then consolidated. Critics of this act, the Antisemitism Awareness Act, and its amendment argued that it could restrict free speech in several ways. One, concerns about political speech. Some worry that the bill could criminalize, meaning if you say something against Israel, you can be held liable for what you just said. Since the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance definition of anti Semitism includes certain critiques of Israel, opponents argue that political speech, including discussions about Israeli policies, should remain protected under the First Amendment. Then there's the religious liberty debate. The amendment introduced by Christian conservatives allows statements like Jews kill Jesus to be protected under religious freedom. Some lawmakers believe this could legitimize anti Semitic rhetoric, while others argue that restricting such speech will violate religious rights. Third, the impact on the college campuses. The bill would require the Department of Education, which no longer exists, to use the IHRA definition when investigating discrimination cases. Critics fear this could limit student activism. Well, no, actually, the current administration has already done that, particularly protests against Israeli policies by labeling them anti Semitic. Potential government overreach. He's already done that too. Some opponents claim that the bill could expand federal authority in ways that suppress dissent. Oh, yes, every time somebody stands up to the current administration, they should be thrown into jail, they should be shot, they should be accused of treason, they should be exiled from the United States, they should be sent to El Salvador for their notorious prison system. They argue that the current administration might use it to target political opponents. Comment, really? Huh. Well, we already know that's already happening, rather than genuinely combat anti Semitism. Supporters of the bill insist that it protects Jewish students from discrimination. How about all those temples and the women and children that are inside those temples? Not to mention the older senior citizens in there. Supporters of the bill insist that it protects Jewish students from discrimination while preserving free speech rights. However, the debate continues as lawmakers weigh on its constitutional implications. Comments, well, he doesn't pay attention to the Supreme Court. I dare say he's not going to worry about the Constitution either. And this will bring us to the halfway point, and we will continue this special report tomorrow because it's rather lengthy. And where did I get my information? I did my research with AI. It does summaries for me. Otherwise, so it's taken me a lot longer to get all this information put together. And the only other spot is I went to the government website where it explains exactly what this act would do and not do of the Anti Semitism Awareness Act. So thank you very much for joining me this morning. And this program is brought to you by Ruby.ai. Thinking of using one? Look at this one. You'll be blown away. http:// with Lillian.com. It'll take you to the Ruby AI page where there are testimonials, where there's a demonstration of the app. It's all in there. and then sign up for a monthly subscription. You will not regret it. Also, by Conscious Research Solutions. Go check us out at passionateworldtalkradio.com/research made simple blog. Find out what the pain points are for doing research or your personal pain points that have now become pet peeves. Sign up for a 15-minute free consultation. And let's not forget passionateworldtalkradio.com/donations to keep our resource and informative podcasts on the air so you can take care of yourself personally, spiritually, and let's not forget entertainment. Thank you very much for joining us. And remember, your call to action is to tune in tomorrow and hear the rest of the story.